Yeah, Black Adam is going to have to be more than it is, and by all accounts, the trailer looks like a very dated superhero movie, perhaps from the '90s or early 2000s. There's nothing about it that looks like there's nothing in it to me that looks like anything we haven't already seen in other superhero fare. I think a lot of us are experiencing superhero fatigue. So again, as you pointed out, Tom, it's going to have to be like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. It's got to be like a Henry Cavill or some sort of, because if you think about it, they haven't wiped away the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse technically is still here, especially if they make another Suicide Squad movie or Harley Quinn. It's like all the things that the Snyderverse set in motion, they haven't gone away. So it would be interesting if Henry Cavill was in it, and I hope he is. And then they just finally, maybe that's what they're waiting for, because there've been rumors they're going to announce any day Henry Cavill's back. Henry Cavill's back. Maybe what they're waiting for is for Black Adam to come out and then announce it around then, and that announcement will actually get people interested in seeing Black Adam, which by all accounts looks like an average superhero movie with The Rock. And if everything I've heard from people who've seen it in test screenings, that's pretty much what they tell me, is that it's just an average superhero movie. You've seen it before, except The Rock is in it. So there you go.
And we'll be the first to point out that The Rock is not necessarily box office gold. Now, granted, he plays overseas a lot like guys like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger used to back in the day. There's no denying that. But in the U.S., The Rock has yet to have a huge hit that wasn't an ensemble cast. If you take away the Jumanjis, the Fast and the Furiouses, what you're left with is his highest grossing film is like Skyscraper or the Earthquake one. I think it was one of those two, San Andreas or Skyscraper. Either way, both of them made around the same amount. It was around $300 million. Mm-hmm. So that is not, to me, equal box office gold. Now, the difference is on the other end of that, I think those movies made quite a bit overseas. That's what helped. But Rampage was another one that still only made a couple $100 million. Like, he's not able to do things on his own. It seems like he has yet to have a film that he is the main star and only the big star, and it break that $500 million range.
Yeah. I mean, it's like also a franchise, like, the Fast and the Furious and whatnot, right?
Yeah, he always able to come in. He can like pump up the numbers of a franchise. You can give it that artificial, like, that pump up of, steroids or whatever you want to put it. But does that really last? Because even Fast and the Furious, I'd argue that he had no effect on that whatsoever.
Yeah, I saw this Rock movie, God, years ago, to the point where I don't even remember the movie, where he was a security guard at this building and got stuck in the building. It was kind of
Skyscraper, I think.
It's Skyscraper, and it was
the one where he was missing a leg.
Yeah, he was missing a leg. He was a guy who had like this fake leg, and it was the dumbest. I mean, it was a terrible movie, but even The Rock could not save that movie, and he couldn't carry the film. Like, I do think you're right, Tom. You pointed out, like, he's good in an ensemble. He's like great ensemble, but maybe that's what Black Adam is. Maybe Black Adam technically is an ensemble because we know other characters that are in it, right?
Well, it does have a very Suicide Squad. Well, of course, you even have what's-her-face in the film playing, now the name escapes me. The Suicide.
Margot Robbie.
No. The lady that's the head of Suicide Squad.
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis or whatever is in the film as, I can't remember the character's name. That's what I was trying to remember, but
Amanda Weller.
Amanda. So like, there is that connection, and it does have that feel of like, they might as well have just called it Suicide Squad 3, because you got, what is it, Hawkman and a couple other people. They're all teaming up together anyway. So yeah.
I don't think he's ever had a successful solo outing. I really don't.
I mean, Skyscraper and San Andreas did okay. That comedy he had where he's the Tooth Fairy did okay for comedies as far as probably compared to budget. But we've brought it up a number of times, Culture, right? Like he has not had a hit that has really cracked that ceiling. If you take out all the franchise stuff, where he come in the middle, even he couldn't even fix G.I. Joe. See, and that to me is the proof in the pudding, is that this ensemble shit 9 times out of 10, it has less to do with him and more to do with the franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to mention that in terms of announcement and stuff like that, things about Zaslaw's plans for the future of DC, from what I understand, they are falling into place, and they will be announced in December, because then they are going to have like a brand new DC event, because Zaslaw doesn't want to continue the DC fandom and all these other things from the previous regime. So in December is where they will make major announcements, and that is presumably where Cavill will also be announced. If he is indeed in Black Adam, then he's already locked down for multiple other contracts, but they'll save up making that official until then, or until the aftermath of Black Panther, whichever. Yeah.
Well, and here's the
Sorry,
thing.
Black Adam.
I really don't see them wasting the return on Henry Cavill in a cameo. And
Yeah, but
apparently that's what it is. Post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Well, but at least that would sort of like plant a flag. Like, he's coming back. Here he is. You saw the bottom half. You saw him headless in Shazam. He's coming back in Black Adam, and yeah, that tease, right? I think it. I don't know. I think that
Maybe.
and also, if he is doing a major announcement in December, because I'm sure they're working out details. Like, I mean, think of how many times things have been announced that didn't happen. I'd love to go back. This would actually be a fun stream to do, is go back and see like the way Zack Snyder. Do you remember when DC announced that, like, you know, there were going to be all these other movies, the Flash movie, and when it was supposed to come out, and Cyborg, and like all these other films, and like
Cyborg was supposed to come out in 2020. So basically it was supposed to have come out 2 years ago.
Yeah, they laid out this whole, like, they do those, they're all obsessed with these like phases, right? Like, here's phase 4 and phase this. I mean, look, every single time that Kevin Feige's announced a phase, there's always been changes. Things come off the board, new things go on the board, things get pushed.
But I would argue, Chris, that this phase 4 was one that changed the most of all the ones that they previously announced.
Well, it is the weakest one.
And that's just it, too. It has the most stuff in it. It was meant to start off, get kicked off by James Gunn, and then he was supposed to take over the cosmic side of things, is what they called it then. But it's clearly what we had said it was going to do. And that was go towards the Secret Invasion and Secret Wars, right? Like, we kind of knew where this was supposed to head. And now this whole phase, it feels like it's been nothing but a waste. It kind of feels like it's Boba Fett all over again, but through the Marvel universe, right? It was just kind of a placeholder until they got to where they needed to be. It really feels that way. Even though Andre is right, the multiverse stuff was technically set up, it still felt like an afterthought because of how they brushed it off in Spider-Man and then reestablished it again. It was kind of like, wait a minute here. Is this really the way you're going? Is the multiverse stuff? All right, I guess, whatever. You know, like, the only good thing we got out of that was Spider-Man No Way Home. So I guess call that a wash. I don't know.